Good children's nutrition is essential. It can be fun for both adults and children. I'm Libby Lafferty, and today my guests and I will show you how. Hello. In today's lesson, we're going to concentrate on good food and sound nutrition for children. Some of you may be wondering why we need to treat foods for children separately from those for adults. The nutrition of children is closely correlated to that for the adult, but because diet is of major importance to the growth, health, and happiness of children, it requires special planning to see that their food needs are suitably met. There are three areas where the nutritional needs of children differ from those of adults. Their energy requirements per unit of weight are higher than that of adults. In other words, although small children do not need as many calories as grown men, they will still use more energy for their size. This is the result of greater physical activity, a higher rate of metabolism, and extra energy used for growing. Children need foods that have higher proportion of bodybuilding materials such as proteins, minerals, and vitamins. A child needs to be able to call upon these nutrients to build a strong, healthy body. The diet should be made up of foods suitable to the development of a child's digestive abilities. The amounts and types of foods readily handled will increase as the child grows older. Your doctor is the best person to consult concerning your child's nutritional needs. Today, our guest is Virginia Rohr. Virginia has recently published a book on nutrition and has much knowledge to share with us. Hi, Virginia.
Hi, Libby.
I'm so glad you could come today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Virginia and I thought that maybe the best place to begin would be with children's nutrition and the baby. Want to show us what we've got here?
Well, we have a typical favorite menu, I think, for many families: baked chicken, frozen peas, and then fresh fruit. And this can easily be adapted for the baby.
Yes, and we went ahead and did that and took the little baby dish and made it into pureed chicken. And this was mixed with a little chicken broth as the chicken was cooked. And then the peas were taken and blended in the blender, and they were finely blended so that the baby could handle that. And we made up some mashed bananas. It depends on the age of the child how much the digestive system can handle, and bananas are probably one of the first fruits. The strawberries and the pineapple might cause a little trouble right at first, and so we thought maybe the baby would like to start off with just this amount of food. You know, there's some real benefits to making your own baby food. Virginia, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know what your child is eating. We have discovered in recent years that there are many additives to food, commercially prepared baby food, that really the baby shouldn't have. And many starches are added, sugars, and too much salt. And some doctors believe that this may predispose a child to disease in later life.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid that sometimes the canned baby foods are designed to taste good so that the mother will like them rather than the child.
That's true. That's true. They have done research at the University of Iowa. A doctor found that tiny babies don't have very well-developed taste buds. So it really doesn't matter if your baby has seasoned food, especially during the first 7 or 8 months. But after that, you may add a little. But they don't know if it's bland or salty.
Well, another thought that occurred to me is that the tiny baby really doesn't care if it looks beautiful on the plate. The baby wants to feel comfortable, and so whether we have a well-balanced picture of food doesn't really matter. If the bananas look about the same color as the chicken, it's fine.
That's true.
There are several pieces of equipment that can be used in making homemade baby food. The blender is one, and I brought along a food mill that I have from my house that would also work. And let's use that and take the dessert, which is the baked apple, and make a fourth thing for the baby. The food mill is nice for this kind of blending because you leave the skin and the seeds and anything else from this baked apple that you don't want to go down at the top of the food meal, and only the pureed portion will come out. Let's take a look and see. Oops, I'm not hitting the bowl very well here.
Applesauce is a perfect food for the little one. You know, they say that if you constantly give your baby commercially prepared baby food, it's like giving your family a TV dinner every night for supper.
Aha. Well, I didn't get much out of that, but since the baby isn't really here tonight, we won't worry too much about it. There are some times when baby food might be helpful and handy. Here, I've got it all over me. And the prepackaged baby foods would probably be best in a special emergency situation where you were going to want to travel and you were afraid about how things were going to keep. And so it would be like taking along canned foods that are going to be safe to carry. Again, though, you would probably find that the best nutrition would be the straight peas, the straight meats, rather than ending up with turkey noodle dinner or beef and vegetables and so on, where you're not as sure of the total nutrition. What about some other thoughts here? One thing I thought of was economy.
Right.
It doesn't cost you that much more to take a few of those peas and put them through the blender.
It's also a better transition for the baby when he does go to table food. It's going to taste more near like the food he has been eating than if he's been eating the canned and jarred food.
I was talking to a friend who's a local pediatrician, and he said if I really had the nerve, I would tell all of my mothers to make all of their baby food homemade. And of course, the problem is that it is not quite as convenient. It takes a little effort to get out the blender. The blender isn't hard to clean. Just put a little soapy water in there and blend it up, and I think it'll be easy.
There has been a recent report on baby food that people, if they want to get their eyes open to convince them that it's worth it, is to read the white paper that was released recently on the filth in baby food, which was rather shocking and kind of sad.
Well, I think the important thing is that if the family is eating well-balanced meals, then the baby can enjoy this right along with the family, and then as the baby gets older, can make that transition of eating with his fingers later on those same foods. Let's go on now to another area I think is very important. That's the area of snack foods. And Virginia's brought along a recipe to share with us today.
Well, this is a favorite at our house, and we begin with carob powder. The carob, if you're not familiar with it, is made from a pod that is grown on a tree similar to an apple tree, and it is ground and produces a fine powder very similar to chocolate. It can be used as a substitute it can be used exactly like cocoa. If you want to substitute for a cube of chocolate, you use 2 tablespoons of the carob powder on 1 tablespoon of water. And today I'm going to mix up quickly our snack. I've added 3 tablespoons of butter and 1 tablespoon of oil. We'll begin there. It's a very soft powder.
Yeah, you really have to watch out. It'll start flying all over the place.
And then a 1/2 cup of peanut butter. I buy the pure peanut butter. Be sure you don't buy peanut butter that is filled with additives and has been hydrogenated, but you want the pure peanut butter.
This is the kind of peanut butter that has the oil that comes to the top, and this means that it has not been homogenized.
One thing great about carob too, Libby, is it only has 2% fat, and your chocolate is 52% fat. And people that are fighting weight or have high cholesterol should not be indulging in chocolate, especially when they can eat carob. And I've tried this out on youngsters, teenagers. I have a recipe in my book. In fact, the book carries only sugarless and chocolate recipe, chocolate, without chocolate.
You were talking about something about the honey and the bees?
Oh, yes. It takes 500, I better add the vanilla next. It takes 556 bees to produce 1 pound of honey. And those bees have had to travel a total of 35,584 miles, more than around the world, to produce 1 pound of honey. So when you go to your supermarket and the price seems high for honey, think of all the work those bees did to get that honey for you.
I'm not sure they get minimum wage.
And now we've added a half cup of powdered milk. The non-fat powdered milk is a wonderful source of protein. Milk, as you know, is a complete protein. It has the 8 essential amino acids. So we're fixing a snack here that not only carob contains minerals, vitamins,
There we go.
and then we're adding the calcium and the wonderful nutrition of milk. So when you eat this snack, you're not eating
One
some
problem
things.
with chocolate is the fact that when it is in combination with milk, it does not allow the body to absorb the calcium. And so if you were to put the real chocolate in this along with the dried milk, you wouldn't get the nutrition out of the milk. And this may be something to remember with children and chocolate milk and hot cocoa, that you do want to stay away from always putting chocolate in the milk because the nutrition's less.
Excuse me, spoon.
What are we doing here?
We are crushing pecans. I prefer to crush pecans than chop them because when you crush them, you're releasing a flavor that you just don't get when you cut them. And also,
Very good
this
idea.
is neater and less cleanup afterward.
A big baggie is helpful to keep them all in place.
I added a half a cup of ground sunflower seeds. And sunflower seeds are another wonderful food. For its size, it is higher in protein than meat, eggs, or milk. Did you know that, Libby?
No.
I think that's amazing, that wonderful little seed. You know, the Russians eat a lot of sunflower seeds next to yogurt. I guess it's their snack. And I guess we have everything in. And we pour it into a 9x6. I got through without using my hand. And if I were home, I'd probably use my hand.
Well, you know, our theory is here. That's what I get for pulling it away from you. Your hands are really your best tool, and so
They really are.
remember to wash your hands before you come in the kitchen, and then dig in with both of them if you need to.
We added a half of a cup of pecans. Let's see, did we say half a cup of sunflower seeds?
And they were ground in the blender.
Right.
And the sunflower seeds could be the raw kind, or if you wish, the kind that have been toasted, and even a little salt on them won't matter too much.
Right.
That really looks good, Virginia, and it can be then divided into little squares.
It should be well chilled, and it will cut just like fudge, and you will be eating protein instead of pure sugar, like ordinary fudge.
Virginia and I were discussing a wide variety of snack suggestions, and we brought along a few for you to see today. I made a couple of homemade popsicle ideas. This one is the orange juice concentrate, and instead of diluting it to the strength that it says on the can, add just half the amount of water. This one is yogurt that has been put in a cup. This is a 5-ounce cup. I found that this is a nice size for children, maybe 10 years and up. If you wanted it for younger children, you might use the smaller 3-ounce size cup. Some other ideas. You were telling us about a combination of proteins and carbohydrates.
Oh yes, some say the perfect snack should include a protein, a fat, and a carbohydrate.
And here's one that really fills the bill. These are just cubes of various kinds of cheese with a pretzel stick for kids to eat. I think eating out of hand is one of the fun parts of having a snack. And so I thought you might remember sometimes to pass the fruit with the rind on it and let them eat it like it was watermelon. This is one my daughter likes. She likes to put the bananas together with some peanut butter. And one that I've used with preschoolers a lot is the frozen vegetables that are mixed in the package, and they can just walk around and eat them ice cold, and they really like the flavor. Here's some celery filled either with cheeses or peanut butter, which again would give you that blend of the fat and the protein and the fresh vegetables. You were telling me that your kids like the fresh vegetables too?
Yes, yes, and we also like to put cottage cheese in celery and then sprinkle crushed nuts on it because you're getting a little protein with the... cottage cheese is a high source of protein.
And a lot of texture with the nuts,
Right.
which would be good. You, of course, observed the making of jerky in another lesson, and here is some of that would make a very good snack. Another one, some children just don't really like sweet things very well, and this is one that my daughter would like, which is a quarter of a dill pickle with bologna wrapped around it. And dried fruits and nuts would be good. and the old bag of granola.
Yes.
And in your workbook, there's a recipe for making granola if you would like from scratch.
I would add sunflower seeds to this. And maybe one nut that has been salted. I see you have chosen the raw nuts, and raw nuts are preferable to the roasted nuts because during the roasting, the amino acid lysine is destroyed, and so that's why we try to use raw nuts when we can.
Good idea. I think it's important that the child who needs a snack to carry him through the day get one that's going to meet his needs, and also the child who cannot eat his dinner well is not filled up with snacks in between, because it's most important to have the 3 meals a day.
Some children need 6 feedings, and that's where this kind of a snack comes in handy, a good protein.
Another area where Virginia and I decided was kind of a zone where nutrition maybe could be stressed a little is the dinner where you're going to feed your children and you're going to go out and leave them with a babysitter. Instead of zipping down to the corner to the first fast food restaurant, maybe there's some plan-ahead things you can do instead. So we both made thoughts on this, and I came up with a make-your-own-television dinner. And you can buy little foil pans in the market and then fill them yourself. In this case, I selected foods that my children like. And so I got the fish fillets and a brown and serve whole wheat roll and some corn, and seasoned it with a little butter and salt and pepper. And then covered it with foil. Be sure and put the temperature you're going to bake it at, the date that you made it, and how long it's going to take. In this case, the fish, and I noticed on the package, said it would take 20 minutes at 400. And the corn will bake nicely at that amount of time, and the roll will do fine too if you cover it lightly with foil. The corn also does need to be covered so that it can steam a little bit. The fish should be baked without a covering on top. So once you pull it out of the oven, you can just get it ready like this and pop it in the oven, and it's easy enough that the babysitter can take it out. The pans are reusable, and I think it helps because it's the kind of thing your children likes. Don't try to put, mashed eggplant or something on there that they are not going to enjoy at that time. I have the rest of the meal in the refrigerator, and I'm going to send Virginia now to the oven to get the rest. It's really more economical if you can plan ahead a little than if you were to buy it. I tried to watch the price, and I think these television dinners ran about 65 to 70 cents. And this is what that looks like when it's done. The roll is nice and brown.
I think we should garnish it with a little watercress and parsley, don't you?
How
about fresh lemon?
I think if Mom and Dad are going out, they could probably care less about watercress and parsley at that point. The corn is good and hot, the butter has melted, and the seasonings are on. And I did bring along a lemon because my children like a little fresh lemon. And in this case, they're going to have a tomato salad on lettuce and a glass of milk. And this would be something that the babysitter could easily make. In fact, she would probably enjoy eating it too. The pans can be saved and used over and over. What'd you bring to show us today, Virginia?
A favorite at our house. I have 2 teenage sons, so when we're going out, a quick meal is the quesadilla. You begin with a flour tortilla, and I chose the large tortilla because my teenagers have large appetites. You can use the smaller tortilla, but with this size, you use 1 cup of grated cheese. I combine Longhorn cheese with Jack cheese. If you use the smaller tortilla, you can use the ½ cup of cheese, or more if you like. And then the tomato wedges and the alfalfa sprouts. These are called the king of the sprouts. If your people out there are sprouting different seeds, this is a favorite. And then we've added the avocado, which seems to go so well with the Spanish type dinner.
The sprouts really offer a marvelous texture. And at our house, we throw in an Ortega chili, and everybody eats it on
that would be great.
For a Sunday supper or whatever.
If your child doesn't like vegetables, you could offer an apple or an orange or both. Now, for my teenagers, they would have one of these for dessert. But for smaller children, they may not care for the tomato. So slice up apples and put on it, and then they have a good good menu with milk added, and
this is a kind of a nice idea to have on hand all the time.
Yes.
I put the tortillas in the freezer and then usually try to keep cheese on hand, and then they can put on it what they like depending. Sometimes what I do is to put the cheese just on half, fold the tortilla over and bake it that way, and then they can open it up and put it in like a pocket and again eat it with their hands.
The other night my son did just that. It had gotten a little cool, and he folded it over and put in the alfalfa sprouts like a taco idea. But you can also cut this in wedges and eat it like a pizza, however you like.
Maybe it's not so much, you know, whether your children like this dinner or that one, but the fact that you can plan ahead a little bit, make it easy on yourself, but at the same time give them good, well-rounded meals. Virginia, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Oh, thank you, Libby. It was a pleasure to be here.
You know, one of the things that I think is really important is that children learn good, sound, basic nutrition and also good food preparation, and the best way is to invite them into the kitchen and let them enjoy the satisfaction of making some things. And so today I brought along two special guests with me, my two children, Christina and Kevin. Christina is 6 and in 1st grade, and Kevin is a 7th grader and is 12. And Christina chose a recipe to make today, and what's it called, Christina?
A clam salad.
Good. What have you got there?
I got some lettuce and a pear half on top of the lettuce.
Uh-huh.
It makes the pear show up with the lettuce. It makes the color and stuff.
Good. Would you like to show us how this whole thing goes together? See if you can reach all this.
Okay, you take a spoonful of cottage cheese and put it on top of the pear.
On the small end. And mothers, remember, if you can, and are buying canned pears, to get the pears that are packed in light syrup rather than the heavy to reduce the amount of sugar. If you were to use a fresh pear, a little ascorbic acid powder would help to keep the pear from turning dark.
Okay, the cottage cheese makes the hair stick on.
And what's the hair?
Some grated cheese.
And do you grate your own cheese?
Yes,
Do you have to watch out when you grate your cheese?
sometimes. Okay, then you take some raisins and you're gonna do the eyes and mouth.
Aha, okay. And can you make different kinds of faces?
Sure.
Okay, that one's going to be a happy clown. Maybe, if that last raisin will stay on. Whoops. Why don't you make that one with just one raisin? Okay.
And now, then you take a strawberry and cut it in half right at the top.
And have to be very careful, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Keep your fingers out of the way. Do you sometimes go out and pick those out of the garden?
Yes, we have a strawberry patch at home.
That's right. And, of course, clowns have big noses. And this one has an especially big nose, doesn't he?
Yes. Now then you take an apricot for the ears and cut them in half.
What other kinds of fruits could you use instead of apricots?
Bananas, dried apricots, and others.
Pieces of orange, maybe?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Clowns have big ears and big noses, don't they? What would you use the salad for, Christina?
Lunch or dinner? would
Lunch
be
or dinner?
fine.
Right, and it's got a lot of nutrition in it. And so this is Christina's clown salad. Thanks very much. Would you like a cloth to wipe off your hands? Kevin's one of those guys that has been cooking in the kitchen for many a year, and I asked him what he'd like to fix today, and he said,
I'm making a orange breakfast shake.
good.
Yeah.
Kevin plays intramural sports after school, and then he has to walk home, and by the time he gets home, he's ready for a little nutrition. Here, I'll put the lid on that for you. Okay, what's this got in it?
Okay, first it's got
Why don't you stand up?
first it's got some orange wedges, and it's just peeled, and you cut it in small pieces. So,
Why do you use a whole orange instead of orange juice?
well, it gives it more texture, and it just tastes better.
And maybe
it's not
doesn't
as
make
runny.
it as thin, right?
and then you use an egg, and oh yeah.
Why do you put it in the cup first?
Because, well, I would make a lot of mistakes, and sometimes you get the shell in there. If you get the shell in there, it's kind of hard to reach in and pick it out. It's easier to do it in here.
Yes, and he told me the other day he doesn't like crunchy shakes. Right. There you go.
Okay, then you use a half cup of milk. And, of course, some ice cream.
These hot lights really make the ice cream
It's
soft.
better if it's cold and hard, then you get a thicker shake.
The ice cream is going to do what for this shake? How's that for a scoop, everyone? One more. Oh, you think that's going to count as 3? No, one more. Okay.
It makes it thicker and gives it flavor.
And it adds the only sweetening then to the shake. And here's your lid. How much is this going to make?
This is going to make 2 cups. I don't know about this one, though.
This one may make more.
Yeah.
Okay, here, let's put it on here. There we go. There, now you want to pour it in a glass and show us what it looks like? This is enough for Kevin and a friend. What else could you use it for besides a nutrition break?
Well, for breakfast or...
Breakfast along with some peanut butter, and toast might be awfully good. Aha, that looks great, Kevin. Yeah, see, it made 2 glasses full. There you go. You're going to try your own cooking here?
I'll use this one.
Kevin was 3 years old when he said, I don't like eggs anymore. And I go, oh, but you've got to have eggs. And so finally I said, okay, you make them. And so we went into the kitchen, and he learned to make scrambled eggs. And he thought those were the world's greatest eggs because he's a good cook. Kevin and Christina, thank you so much for helping me out today. And don't go away, there's dishes to do. And again, thanks, Virginia, for sharing with us. There are 2 criteria for judging when an adult's diet is well balanced, namely maintaining good health and keeping weight at the proper level. Children, on the other hand, should not remain at the same weight. They should be making consistent gains in weight and height throughout the growth period. Remember, growth periods do not always proceed at a consistent rate. They can go in spurts. If you are involved in the daily care and feeding of children, take a little time out this week to evaluate the quality of your children's eating habits and how they may be improved. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.